porn viewership, researchers asked participants, have you seen an X-rated film in the past year? With yes or no being the only two responses. They also tracked changes in porn viewership. That is, whether an individual began or stopped using porn in between the survey periods. And they asked about religiosity. Respondents were asked to rate themselves on how religious they considered themselves on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being very religious and 5 being not very religious. They were also asked to rate themselves in terms of weekly church attendance, with 0 being never attending church and 8 being attending church more than once weekly. The researchers limited their analytical sample to individuals who were married at time 1 and divorced at time 2 of each survey period. Hypothesis 1 that was beginning pornography use would be associated with a greater likelihood of divorce among married people. On the y-axis here, you have probability of divorce. The blue bars indicate individuals who never began to watch porn, while the red bars indicate individuals that did begin to watch porn. As you can see here, men and women that did not begin to watch porn showed a predicted probability of divorce of around 6%. Men who began to watch porn between these survey periods showed an increased predicted probability of divorce to 10%. And for women, that predicted probability of divorce, if you began to watch porn, jumped to 16%. That's twice as much for men and more than twice as much for women. Hypothesis 2 was that this association between porn use and divorce would be stronger for Americans that were younger when compared to Americans that were older. On the x-axis here, you have age from 20 to 80 years old. And on the y-axis, you have probability of divorce given that you began to watch porn between these survey periods. As you can see, the positive association between porn use and divorce declined as you aged. For example, a 20-year-old who never began to watch porn had a predicted probability of divorce of 6%. That number jumped to 51% if you began to watch porn. That's a 45-degree difference in the predicted probability of divorce. This positive association continued to decrease as you age, with a 40-year-old who did begin to watch porn having a predicted probability of divorce of around 12%. For individuals who were 50 years old and older, Perry and Schleifer's model no longer predicted a significant difference in divorce rates between individuals who did or did not watch porn. Hypothesis 3 was that this positive association between porn use and divorce would be stronger for Americans who were more religious than less religious. On the y-axis here, again, you have probability of divorce. The orange bars represent individuals who did not begin to watch porn, and the purple bars, porn. For individuals who are not religious, that means that individuals who did not self-identify as religious and did not attend church weekly, the probability of divorce was about 6%. For individuals who did begin to watch porn and were not religious, that number jumped to 12%. That's similar to what we see in our general sample that wasn't divvied up based on whether someone was religious or not. The interesting thing is that for individuals who were very religious, and that is attended church weekly, there was no significant difference in the probability of divorce based on whether or not you began to watch porn. All of these results had a p-value of less than 0.05, indicating that these results are significant and more than what we would expect due to chance alone. Though this data was quite robust, there are a few very important limitations. Firstly, how much? Researchers only asked individuals, have you seen an X-rated film in the past year, yes or no? There's no way to quantify how much porn these individuals were watching. Therefore, we don't know whether it was the initiation of porn use or there was a certain level or threshold of porn use that was associated with this greater probability of divorce. Secondly, X-rated movie is a vague and frankly outdated term to get at pornography consumption. The term X-rated film doesn't give individuals any indication of what sort of pornographic materials were being watched. Therefore, we have no idea if there's a specific type of material or if individuals that were interpreting the term X-rated movie differently, and that was what was associated with a greater probability of divorce. Thirdly, we only have quantitative data. Basically, ideally we would want qualitative data to find out what exactly it was about the porn use that was having this role in the relationship or in the eventual breakup. For example, we have no idea whether individuals were watching porn individually together with their spouse. If both spouses in the spousal pair were watching porn individually or together, we have no idea, and this has important implications in terms of the predicted probability of divorce. And finally, we have to talk about something called the confounding variable problem. Basically, Due to the researchers' data and methodological approach, there's no way to rule out alternative explanations for the divorce. Porn is just one of many factors that could influence divorce rates, and there's many factors that could influence both porn use and divorce rates. For example, researchers didn't look at something like sexual satisfaction, and that's a factor that could affect both increased levels of porn use and divorce. This data has very important implications. Basically, studies show that 50% of US marriages will end in divorce. This divorce has important social implications not only for the couple themselves, but also for their family, community, and the economy. So any associations we find between porn use and divorce have important social consequences as well. So, in short, each marriage is unique, and obviously porn use has different effects on any given relationship. That being said, if you do decide to get married down the road, maybe think twice before using Pornhub to spice things up in the bedroom. Thanks so much.